operate without any possible effect. So, and it says here that they have to comply with the requirements that are in effect at the time of application. So the only way those would change is if there have been problems.
Not necessarily, Jay.
Well,
I
you're talking about-
totally agree with Jay.
You're talking about the same process.
Like Eric says, if all we have to do is change the mayor, we're that far away from changing
Well,
requirements.
you council
Yeah,
can
that
vote
has to do with
bigger than
everything.
mayor.
Then they can change
Your
this.
5-acre lots could disappear if you change the whole
Well,
council.
and this says comply with the requirements that are in effect at the time of application, and that is a paperwork deal. That's because somebody comes in with a renewal and they say, well, I like to renew, but I want to do what I was doing 10 years ago. It's like, no, I'm sorry, these are the rules now. You have to comply with the rules now. It's not saying that we're going to create rules that shut you out. It's saying that we're going to open the code book and say, this is what's happening now. This is what's allowed now. This is your renewal in your application. It's the same as when you walk into a shoe store and say, I want to buy that pair of shoes. All right, today they cost $15.50. You can't say, well, last week they were $12. I'm sorry. What happens now is what happens now.
To me, this is just saying that it's leaving you the opportunity
There's no
to
security is what you're saying.
continue to run a business there, even if I don't change something, the way that's worded right now. You guys can just say, I'm not gonna renew your
Well,
license
you guys
this year.
means us guys. It's all of
The
us.
planning commission.
No, it's not us. It would be town council.
Well,
Doesn't
the
matter,
town-
somebody.
Either both
It would
of
be
you.
your neighbors.
Uh,
And that's gonna happen anyway. I mean, that's the same kind of precarious position we're all in. Everything that is in my yard now, in my home now, could change tomorrow depending upon what my neighbor does. There is no security.
I don't know legally if that's the case, Jay. I think that we could get some lawsuits on that.
Yeah, that's a gray area. The continued use is a proven error. That's proven because we have that already in the
Yeah.
codes and state code, but I kind of read that different.
How do you read it?
I would read that is the approval, if it's allowed to lapse, would not participate in why.
And that's what it
So,
says.
in other words, if you come back.
Lapse in there.
Yeah, because that's how I read that, is if your license lapsed, but you was doing this back here and you've let it lapse and now you come in and they don't have to allow you, the new code's in place.
So what are you gonna say?
It's almost a
License
new use,
applications and
right?
expired renewals? Or
Well, I
renewals
think
of
we've already
expired
covered that
licenses?
by prior to expiration.
So
Now
then
it's
you
a
don't
new
want-
application. New applications fall under the current code.
So you're gonna cross out and renewals? New applications and renewals?
No.
Because a renewal is anyone who's renewing. Expired, not expired, anybody who wants to renew, it's biannual, they need their permit back,
It's not a renewal though if they let it
That whole sentence
expire.
before that, Eric.
right?
What's
But
that?
if you leave
That
it
whole
in-
sentence before that, approvals in any year do not perpetuate the right to operate such uses in subsequent years. What that means is that if you've got a business and it's going, just because you've got a business and it's going, doesn't mean you get to necessarily continue that business if the rules change.
The next year.
See,
Well,
and-
it's-
see,
and also
and that's the way you read that?
That is the way I read
That's the
that.
way
I think that's the way a lawyer could spin that real easy.
Oh, they'll spin it all sorts of ways.
Oh, I don't think they have to
Stand by
spin it at all. I think that's definitely
Yeah.
spelled out there. Just because you've got an application and you're complying and you're doing everything right now, if the rules change, we could yank that away
Well,
from
and
you.
this could also mean if you do not comply, if there are complaints against you, just because.
But that
I
doesn't
approved-
say that. It does say that in this 08 section.
I think you just need to add at the end of that, if license is allowed to expire. Or if license is not renewed before expiration.
It's an easy fix. You can put it on the end of there after expiration.
Yeah, that would do.
I think that would solve everybody's worry with that.
Well, and that legalese right there, approvals in any year do not perpetuate the right to operate such, also protects us in the case of a review. If we review somebody and say, you know, you no longer, you're not doing what you said you'd do.
That's true.
You know, if like we have in good faith and you're operating and everybody's happy, life goes on, and then the next year, all of a sudden, you are not complying, you are not doing what you said you would do, the town can say, just because we approved it last year, we've now reviewed and we're not going to approve it this year because you did not meet your expense, our expense.
That's true, that protects the town. My point is what protects the people who are on the other side of that fence?
And
Better
they're,
than
and they're still doing the same thing.
Yeah, well.
And nothing
don't
is
give
there,
it-
nothing is there that protects them in this, Jay.
Well, I think the sentence before that, conditions may be,
Attached to any license approval or
Sure.
renewal. I mean, this
And that
doesn't,
protects the town too.
it does.
There-
If there's a complaint, there may be some conditions that can mitigate that. If we attach a condition to a license, we're putting conditions on when they come in to start with.
Exactly.
And so if that condition's on there,
If that's all that we're concerned about here, then let's just run this through. But if we are concerned about our citizens and their input and their say, then I don't think that it's there, Eric. I don't think that the protection is equivalent for the business owners and operators as the protections are there for the town. It just occurs to me. Now, I'm just one guy and I'm just saying things, playing devil's advocate here.
he doesn't need an advocate. He does his own.
Well, not on this board, we don't.
okay,
I think we need to be very cautious about what we do for the entire town, not just for a few people.
I think we'd pay state 2508 over that one, and call it a day.
I'd say leave it alone. I say move on. I like the whole idea of the town having some kind of a hammer. They have 3 hammers. It's for the attorneys, when they're arguing this, years from now, months from now, weeks from now, to say which hammer really works, which hammer is really constitutional. But I think to have 3 hammers is a good idea. But that could be, you know, Gestapo talking too.
Well, and then you've also got the situation that
Well, and we may
we're
not
a
even-
town that has
If
not
all
been
the-
able to enforce this. We're a town that has had code for home occupations that has just been run over. It
Absolutely.
hasn't been enforced and it hasn't been respected. And so for me to say, I can't have this in here because the town might take someone's business, I would say it needs to be in here so that the town can protect itself from those who don't respect what's happening.
You already have that. If they don't follow what's in the guidelines, you have every right to take the way they're.
I don't have that in here. If you have a permit,
You
you
do
have
it
a
just in
permit
the
and
code
I've
itself.
issued, well, I've issued you a permit. If you come in with your attorney and he says, you've issued him a permit for the last 10 years, how come not this year?
That says he can do what's in
Conditional
here.
use.
It doesn't say do anything above and beyond what's in this code.
It says that it's subject to, let's see, conditions may be attached for approval or renewal, so that covers that, Jay. That if there's an issue and we go out there and talk to them and they're not meeting the conditions, then,
Okay, then what happens? Conditions may be attached to any license approval or renewal.
And if they don't meet-
Subject to review.
and if they don't meet the conditions, they're done.
Where does it say that?
Again, you'd have to get a lawyer in here to tell you that, but when you put a condition on
They
it,
don't agree with each other.
a condition of something is an if-then statement generally.
Yeah.
If you do this, then you can have a business license. If
That's
you
not
haven't
in there.
done that, well, okay.
Harry, why didn't the town council give us the definitions we're supposed to define?
because they're a 5-member, we're a 7-member.
Yeah, but they could
So we
read this
take
and say,
longer.
I want this defined, and then we could do it. I hate to sit here and rewrite this code again.
Well,
I've
that's the
been at
thing.
it for a year and a half. I think we've got a good piece of legislation here, and it's been worked over till it's almost getting to be boring.
Amen.
So if the town council wants us to work on definitions, tell them to define which definitions we're supposed to work on.
Yeah, definitions of definitions.
Well, but here's the thing, this application's coming before you guys. Before the council sees it, you're gonna have to define it. So what the council is asking for a definition and what this board wants for a definition are 2 different definitions, unless this board spells it out.
Well,
What we're looking at
why
here
do we
is-
have to review the entire code sentence by sentence, word by word?
That's the only way to identify what is a problem. How would you, if you just looked at that, you would just say, okay, it's fine. But as we read that, it doesn't make sense. So therefore, we need a definition.
What we're looking at here is a rewrite.
Yeah,
Let's talk about the first definition. What does home occupations apply to, and where does it say that? Because we're sitting here talking to Mark and myself, and apparently this doesn't even apply to us.
No,
No, this is businesses inside the home.
Yeah, so.
So if you look at the purpose, that was the first thing we read.
No.
The purpose of this section is to detail the regulation for home occupations. Any home occupation shall not change the character of the home or neighborhood and will coexist with residential uses without significant conflict with neighboring residential uses.
So I think we're,
I will do it if you make a motion.
I'm just saying, if there's a definition problem in this document, they said to define it. Well, I'm asking them to tell me where the problem is.
Make that a motion.
I don't think there was a problem except for changing it to 2-year and biannually and prior to expiration and may be reviewed. I think
Okay,
beyond that, that
can
paragraph
we
stands.
move on from 82502 then?
Tom says no.
I didn't say no.
You did too. You said right here, we couldn't go on without making the public happy about those 2 sentences.
I never said we couldn't go on. What I said was I think we need to represent the public.
Well, that's what we're supposed to do.
I think that's what you was talking about too, the same thing.
I
We-
think.
we are-
I just
we are
don't want
representing
my
them.
competitor to come out here and join your planning committee and him have a place on Airport Road and him.
That's why we
strike
want
the
you
hammer.
to come on this committee. That's why we want you here.
And I think that's the most valid point that's been said tonight. Everybody says, well, we want to do that, they have to go through the whole commission. Well, okay, so the commissions can be stacked.
And just as a side note, if he's on Airport Road, he's not qualified to sit on this board.
You're silly.
Unless he lives in Daniel.
Well, yeah, if
But
he's
I-
got,
That's what
if
he
he's got a
means.
yacht,
His
yard, I'm
business is over there,
saying.
he's got business properties with his.
Oh, but a resident of Daniel. Yeah.
But it's just, you have to be involved, because you guys can't tie the next group's hands. You're never gonna have guarantee that what you want is gonna work as a business owner here, right?
No, you don't.
There are
You
no
can't,
guarantees.
because you guys are gonna change, the town council's gonna change. There isn't, and even if you put that in, like you said, then it has to go through this whole process of public hearing. So you have to stay involved. It's not as soon as this is over, I'm done and get out. You have to stay involved or else you'll lose your rights.
Shelley, these guys were instrumental in developing a lot of this code through public hearing.
I know.
Yeah.
And that's, so you guys have listened to public, you have listened to the people, but I'm saying I don't think there's any way that Mark is gonna be guaranteed he can have his company as long as he lives there. It ain't gonna happen.
Well, the
He
town.
can't, they can't do it.
The town of Daniel is just like a carpenter. They have to have certain tools at their hands, you know. The carpenter needs his saw, his level, his chisel, you heard the song. Well, as far as I'm concerned, these sentences that apply on both of these, to me, they need to be part of these documents. We need to be able to have that versatility. Now, you let the courts and the attorneys fight that out down the road, that's fine. That's how, I'm working for the people of Daniel when I say that. I'm not up here saying that it's the planning commission. I'm saying that that's the way to protect the citizen and the town of Daniel.
Because we've been sued before.
No,
And
still.
will be again.
Exactly.
No, still, we are.
Still, yes, still.
Yeah.
I spoke to that guy.
Oh, while we're on that, can I? No, I haven't. I'll bring that up later.
Well, I feel like that sentence that I'm liking to be striked is covered if you turn over our page and you read the annual renew and review of home occupation license. It gives you the right to deny a license again if that person is out of compliance from what they started their business as.
I agree, that's what it says.
But this says, if I read it, the way I read it, approval in any year, approvals in any year do not however you say that word.
Yeah, it just
Terrible
means if you
fact.
get a permit this year, that doesn't mean you're gonna get an approval next year automatically.
And there's, I just really have a problem with that.
To me, it just backs up this other one.
It tells me that, that any panel, whether it be planning or city council, decides that they don't like this type of business being in there, or that person, or however, whatever it might be, they can just say, we don't want this business here anymore.
Well, see, this
Even though
guy,
he's in compliance everywhere, or that business is in compliance.
this guy at one time was running a shoe shop business, and he found out it was more profitable to push a little heroin and marijuana.
Well, that's a lot different.
That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about nothing changes in
And how do
his
you know that?
business. This code, the way that sentence says, that you cannot
No
allow.
marijuana, no map?
But that's,
Totally off,
but that's
off
what
in
they
left
was
field
doing.
there.
They was already doing that. That's why you guys are here now. Because there were some people that said they don't want the businesses, right? This is what started this whole thing.
Or they felt the
Complaints, they-
expansion was,
yes,
there
it was
are
done. It was
businesses,
time to
there
be
was
done.
Uncontrolled
Yeah,
expansion.
they wanted it stopped. And so what happened? All you guys got involved. And you come and it can happen again. There is no guarantee, right? This could happen and I think you're right. It has to be in there. So, because you guys can't tie the mayor's hand, the council's hands or your hands.
Okay, well, that's a question I have for the attorney. Is it continued use of property right? So that's a question I have for the attorney. If it turns out that it continued use is a property right, we can't regulate that.
Yeah.
And that's
I
my
think it
point,
is.
Eric, is I think that we can put anything we want to in there. We can put.
You can.
The rain is gonna fall from the earth to the sky. But when it actually comes down to it, and these people who decide, well, that's not right, I'm gonna sue, I'm gonna go out and do this, it's gonna be determined by the lawyers and the judge, and it may be completely different than what we as a town
Absolutely.
might be in 100% agreement on, and yet we're gonna have the judge tell us, no, you can't
Yeah.
have that, you've gotta take that out.
Which is exactly the case if that's a property right. If it's a continued use.
Exactly.
What's that?
If a continued use is a property right, then that's done.
Well, and it isn't, I don't think just a continued
Why are we
use.
asking an attorney? We should be going to the court cases.
I'll be here till I die.
Well, that's what
That's
the attorney
his job,
does.
yeah.
Yeah.
He finds the one he wants to find.
Well,
Depends on who.
I've hired
We'll
him.
have to.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I mean, if that's, there's a lot, if it is a property right, then there's gotta be anything you can do to legislate that out. As a town, we can't legislate out a property right.
well, and I think that's a legal concept that has been validated over and over again, that towns cannot legislate activities out of business. Otherwise, there would be, for instance, okay, you know, the thing that immediately comes to mind is, there's no town that wants sexually oriented businesses. But it's been proven in court again and again and again that there are sexually oriented businesses, and they sue the towns, and they are still in existence. And in various jurisdictions, what they do is they put them in certain areas where they say, okay, we can't regulate you out of business, but you have to be here. And I think that a similar concept is here, is that if somebody has a business and they're going, we've set a precedent. And if they're going, and we say, well, now, we've decided we don't want that business in our town, I don't think it'll stand up in court. That's all I'm saying.
Right, and that's what I'm talking about. Oh, does anybody, by the way, anybody know where our SLB ordinance area is in the town? Nobody knows?
You don't
Yeah,
have to.
I was on the committee when we put that in.
Yeah,
Where is it?
It's on Airport Road.
Yeah,
Across
So
from the
the
church.
county got together as a county, we designated an area that all the SOB, they call them SOB. It's an SOB
Yeah,
ordinance,
I was on
and
the
that's the
county
area where they
commission
can
when
be.
So they're down there across from the
But
church.
as a town,
At the airport, it's the first thing you see when you fly in.
There you go.
as a town,
Perfect, let's get rid of the airport.
Yeah.
we probably would say, oh, no, we're not gonna do that. But legally, I don't think that we can. I think we would lose that one in court.
Of having an area?
No, of saying that this type of business is not going to be allowed. I don't think that a town can do that.
No, but you can say that it can't be within so many feet of a school or a church or a.
Right, but if we decide that we're tired of this business, or like was said, we get a competitor who has 2 or 3 people, enough to get a vote and a majority on the commission, things can really change drastically. And I think that we need to be careful of that, because at the very least, we'd be setting ourselves up for expensive litigation. And at the worst, there'd be laws overturned. And I just, if we're gonna do it, let's do it. And then we'll let the courts check it out, just like Kim says, we'll put it in, do the best we can. And
So we
if
go
they,
to 825.3.
Okay, and I will ask that question to the attorney.
Thank you.
Okay,
What's the question you're gonna ask? I want.
I'm gonna ask if a continued use is a property right. In other words, I know that in other code, like our zoning code, if it was allowed legally established under these rules, it's allowed to continue as a continued use, even though the zoning's changed and it's no longer allowed, but that has continued all the way through.
So if you guys give me a fence permit or license for 5 years, unless I'm doing everything legal, whatever I told you I was gonna do, it can't be changed.
Right.
Didn't you inherit a conditional use
Yes.
on Highway 40?
So same thing, I guess,
And so that's what I'm gonna ask him if that's a property right.
even though that was
I
a zone.
believe I know the answer, but I'm gonna ask it. So, as it pertains to this code, it may not, but as land use, it does, so. I'll ask that question. Okay, on to 3. Have we defined anything yet?
Yeah.
We have defined, we need a rewrite?
No, we defined that we needed to put 2 to comply with the other.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, application.
I'll read it. Application. Applications for a home occupation license are available online and must be submitted to the planning staff. Is that staff okay word?
Yeah,
The applicant shall provide the following information and satisfy the following conditions before the issuance or renewal of a license. Number 1, home occupation shall not alter the residential character of the premises or unreasonably disturb the peace and quiet of the neighborhood. The home occupation shall adhere to the town's general plan. Do we need to define peace and quiet?
No.
No.
Okay, so it sounds fine to me.
okay, number 2.
2, home occupation shall be in complete conformity with this title, fire, building, plumbing, electrical, health, and all other applicable state and municipal ordinances.
What does that mean with this title?
Okay, is that this piece of paper?
825, this
Okay.
title, 825.
Okay, thank you. 3, home occupation shall not cause a demand for the town of Daniel or utility services or community facilities in excess of those usually and customarily provided for in residential uses.
Okay.
4, the applicant shall provide a description of the proposed use, including, but not limited to location of the use, type of business, and work to be performed at the location. 5, a site plan shall be provided to the planning staff to, you need a space there, to determine availability of parking space to service the proposed use, ingress, and egress. Do they need a site plan for home occupation?
Yeah, because they have to prove they've got,
Parking.
yeah.
Parking would be the only thing, wouldn't it?
Parking and lot coverage, both.
Or parking what?
Lot coverage, you're only allowed to cover so much of your.
Oh,
property.
lot coverage, okay. Sounds good to me then. 6, the name, address, and phone number of the responsible person or applicant shall be provided to the town of Daniel for compliance. 7, all applicants shall state the hours of operation of the proposed use. 8, the applicant shall certify in writing that the proposed use will be located entirely within the residence and will not require the use of outside storage or accessory buildings. 9, any home occupation shall not restrict the residential traffic.
Okay? Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
All right.
Whew.
2504. Anybody want to read that?
Going down the line.
Home occupation license required, and the applicant shall obtain and maintain a current home occupation license.
Okay,
I'll read the next one too.
okay.
Annual renewal and review of home occupation license, which we've read already. The home occupation may be inspected each year prior to renewal of the home occupation license to determine if the home occupation remains in compliance with this chapter. If signed written complaints are received, the home occupation license is subject to further review and may be revoked.
There you go, dude. That's where it covers it.
Okay,
Do we need to change the annual to biannual?
No.
I think we need to take out each year,
Yeah, I think it should just say may be inspected.
maybe inspected prior to renewal.
So, I'm sorry,
So
where
just
does
take
it?
out each
Each
year.
year,
Yeah, just cross that out, and then it's inspected prior to renewal.
Didn't we already decide to do a biannual or?
Yeah, but this way they can inspect it.
well, this is an
Yeah.
inspection, so if I get
So
a
that's-
complaint,
so
We're
that
reading
one
the
doesn't
title
have-
of the
We
section.
already did
The
biannual.
82505 says annual
Oh, yeah.
renewal and review. So
Should say
shouldn't that say
biannual.
biannual?
Yeah.
renewal.
May be inspected.
I think it should just say renewal and
Where was the
review,
biannual?
because if he wants to go in and renew
The
it,
title of
or
82505.
review it,
Needs to say biannual,
Yeah,
The header on top.
the header.
Where we change that for buy.
Well done.
Or just renewal,
Shall by.
either one.
Okay, are we okay with the rest of that?
Yep.
Okay. 82506, home occupation standards. The regulations of this section have been established to help avoid conflicts between the town's general plan, town residents, and the owners of the home occupation. 1, general requirements. Before a home occupation license shall be issued, the following must be shown. A home occupation may be permitted in that zone. B, the home occupation is conducted entirely within the residential dwelling and is carried on in the dwelling by only, wait a minute, carried on in the dwelling only by members of the residing family. Okay? C, the home occupation does not involve the use of any accessory buildings, agricultural buildings, yard space for storage or activities outside of reasonable residential use.
Question,
Okay?
on B, the dwelling only by members of the residing family, did we not say that that would have to be the people that own the
Owner.
property?
Owner of the property.
Not,
I
we're like a
agree.
Yes,
rental
yes.
couple?
yeah.
So should we reword that, or do we say that somewhere else? I don't remember that.
No, I think you need to change that right there, like you said.
So carried on in the dwelling only by the members, let's
Well,
see,
this is
Only
home
by the-
occupation.
But it
Only
has to
by
be
the-
owner.
Owner
it's gotta be
occupied,
owner,
just-
not residing family, because that could be a renter.
That's right. I agree. I
Right.
think you nailed it.
So I'm not sure how to
So
say
I'm
it.
not sure that that matters if it's all conducted inside the home and nobody knows it.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
So we're gonna let renters do that inside the home?
I think on this one, on the other one, that could be a problem because you have outside. But if it's non-discernible to the neighbors,
It's okay for renters to run a business in the town of
if
Danville?
somebody was selling insurance out of their house and they didn't have people coming, I don't see why that would bother anybody, if a renter did that.
I think you already have
You still have
the
the
business
complaint.
already doing that.
What's that?
I think there's already some business license issued that have renters in, a residence.
Okay, well, it's just a question, I misunderstood then, I thought it was only people that
I think that's on
own
the
the
next.
resident
I
that could.
think
That
that's-
was the discussion on Amendment A.
On
Amendment
on
A,
the
yeah,
other
sure.
That
one,
was the
okay,
discussion
all
on the other one.
right, okay,
So-
sorry, thank you.
Nope, that's perfect. Good pickup. Where do we get to?
I think you're ready for D.
D, home occupation is clearly incidental and secondary to the use of the residence for dwelling purposes and does not change the character of the building from that of a dwelling. Okay. E, signs are limited to 1, non-flashing, non-illuminated sign, not larger than 10 square feet. F, not more than the equivalent of 15% of the ground floor space of the dwelling is devoted to the home occupation. G, when necessary, the home occupation shall be registered with applicable state license division or department. And H, entrance to the home occupation from outside shall be by the same entrances normally used by the residing family.
Just line up those D, E, F, G, and H.
Yes.
See how they're all.
Yeah.
Why is the and
Make
in
them
there
straight,
on
would
G?
you?
Yeah, why is the and at the
Is
end
that
of G?
saying we have one more sentence and it's the end?
That should be crossed out.
Is that what
Yeah.
and is
Yeah,
in there
oh.
for?
Yeah, get rid of the and.
This here.
I think they're
Applicable
probably
state
used
license
before.
division
Line
or
it up.
department, period.
Yeah.
Where are you at?
G,
On G?
Oh, just losing the and?
Yes.
Yeah, look
Okay,
at
I
it.
think what that is doing with this document, it's just saying that and, this is the last sentence.
Yeah, and now it's
but
done.
now we've got
But,
H.
but if you want to
That
to
is
do
good
another
news.
sentence, you'd have to move the and.
Just follow down.
So I say just get rid of it.
Okay, sounds good.
Scratch the and, make it a department,
Move over
period.
Put a period.
Instead of a semicolon there, it should be a period.
But there was a sentence replaced on that.
Well, they're all
Somewhere along the line.
And the and,
Yeah.
Okay, so we're all pretty good with this. We think that's written good enough, we don't need to define anything else. Everybody
Amen.
understood that?
Amen.
Amen.
Okay,
Maybe.
Do you want
okay.
any of our notes, Carrie?
Huh?
Do you want any of our notes?
No,
You got your own? Okay.
Well, you gotta record them too. You can always do that one. And if you don't like them, you put the video.
So now we're gonna do amendment A.
Okay, do you want to do amendment A or do you want to continue? Are we getting too late to?
Can we continue amendment A till next time?
Yeah, absolutely.
I move that we continue the work on 825 amendment A until our next meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, discussion on the motion.
who seconded it?
Thomas.
Tom,
Sorry.
anybody? Everybody okay with continuing that? Okay, call for the vote. All in favor? Everybody? Okay.
That'll give us the opportunity to review it a little more.
Amendment A is continued.
Can't do
Okay,
it.
thank you.
Could we send home occupations over to the council when they meet 2 weeks from now?
No, because we did that as an amendment A to the 825, so it has to be adopted as one, or we have to start over with public hearing and
Let's not start
separate
over.
them.
All right.
Okay.
No, God, no, starting over.
Come in, sister.
Start.
Start over.
Yeah, that'd be a problem
Been education.
legally, how we did that.
I just haven't ever given my, written.
All right, okay, that takes us to the next item on the agenda, Mark McAllister's zone change.
You sent us three.
Mark, have you heard from UDOT?
No, I
Okay,
haven't contacted.
No problem.
okay, you haven't been contacted by them? Okay, so that'll continue on the, you got something to add to that tonight?
I have a question.
Okay,
Which property might there be a zone change?
Is this a zone change that we were told was
Is
going
this
to
out
be
on Highway
withdrawn?
On Highway 40.
43,000?
So is it no longer being withdrawn?
Well, I haven't formally written a withdrawal.
Because you didn't know you were supposed to.
So the zone change is still in the works then?
it's still active on our
It's
agenda.
still active on there, and I've still told Eric that I'd like to get in touch with UDOT on my right-of-way entrance. And
They're slow to
I've just
respond.
been working my tail off to cover my bills and haven't taken the time to deal with UDOT.
Okay, I was just clarifying my information, thank you.
I hope it works for you. Maybe.
A lot of this work for me.
Yeah.
Okay. I did, speaking along that lines, the zone change for Bunker went before the council and it's been continued. But I did give them a little packet that had the general plan and, well, what was it all? General plan and the land use plan, as well as the zoning document to them in the packet. Because I know when we talked about it here, somebody said they wanted more information, but then they sent the recommendation to deny. So I did provide them with these documents. I really think, you guys are all up to speed on those documents, right?
Right.
Okay, so that's, they was wondering if maybe you guys didn't know that document, but everybody's up to speed with that. Does anybody need a copy of those?
I don't know what we're talking about, so I guess I
So
must
bunker
be-
zone change.
I know about that, but the document, I don't know what you're talking about.
General plan,
The general plan,
the land use plan?
yeah, no, that one.
Okay, this is the document I gave the council. Highlights in there is what I went over with them.
Okay,
Any one of those? Anybody else?
cool, thanks.
That is the packet. I believe that all that information that's in that packet applies to this zone change. Everything that's highlighted will be the same
For the youngsters.
for McAllister. So these are all town documents. I've highlighted in them documents pertaining to the zone changes
Got it.
and the uses within that area. So all of those will pertain. Mark, do you want a copy of that?
What was that, Eric? I'm sorry.
You want a copy of that? That was my zone change. I believe all those items will apply in your zone change also.
Do you have another one?
Yes.
I wonder if, when we refer to Mark McAllister zone change, I applied for that in Highway 40 properties. I wonder if that might be,
You want it?
I don't know, if you
It might
want to
help
do
some of the
Highway 40
confusion.
property.
Oh, because they think you're down there.
Mark McAllister.
Oh, they think you're on 3,000
Well,
south.
I think all of the planning commission and
Not
wondered,
me, I
are
don't.
you talking your house or are you talking
No, I
the
know what you're
property?
talking.
I know where you're talking.
So,
That's good for
might
clarification. but I-
clarify and answer some questions in the future.
Okay. Let me tell you how I'll do that. I'll start putting that in parentheses. It'll appear on the agenda in the parentheses behind that,
Okay.
because we've already had the public hearing on that. So public hearings went, so I'll have to, public hearing was held under that, so in parentheses on,
Oh,
it will show on the agenda as Highway 40 project,
okay.
okay? Or we have another public hearing.
That's like a threat. Do you want to go to your room?
No, public hearings are good.
Want a public hearing?
Okay, nothing else on that? Okay,
Okay, thank you.
moving on. Number 5, terms of planning board members. The ones that are up this time is Diane. Well, you can read them right there on the agenda. Is it everybody wanting to re-sign up? Is there anybody that wants to get off?
I'm wondering,
Those
how many
four?
terms are you allowed to do?
It's unlimited.
Unlimited.
Check.
We're unlimited in terms.
It goes, you have a pulse.
Yeah. I can
That's,
see that.
that's
If
the
you have a pulse,
criteria.
show up.
Yeah.
Do you have someone that wants on the board?
I do have one application. So if somebody's
How long is the term?
4 years, and so they're alternating. So they'll be in for 4 years, the other ones will go out in 2 years.
Oh, I
So
see, okay.
so this year there's 4, the next one there'll be 3.
I haven't been on this board this time for 4 years,
Uh-huh.
because my house
No,
burned
no,
down.
you didn't. You remember, you filled Blaine Smith, he stepped
Oh,
down.
is that what it is? I was
Yeah, he
finishing
stepped down, the
this.
terms are set, you just
Okay.
filled that seat.
Okay.
And so that's how that works, is those
So now
seats
you'll
come up
be you.
every 4 years.
Mark,
Mark McAllister.
and
So
if
we
if somebody else wants to bail, I'll apply.
It's totally up to you. If you want to, you need to let us know so that we can have them reappointed by the council. So if you need to think about it, that's fine, no pressure. Send me an email, let me know.
I would like to say to the planning at this point that I have hoped that this 825 could be put to bed before a planning member person seat came around. So I was thinking, I don't know if it's the right thing to do or say at this point, but if I did get on the planning commission, that I would voice my opinion on the 825, but I would also remove my vote if it needed to be to have a fair vote. So you guys wouldn't feel that I was biased towards the home occupancy codes that are trying to be written at this time.
Now, Mark, they're used to me.
Isn't there an open position right now
They're used
without
to
any of
you.
these
You're
guys
gonna be
leaving?
fine.
Isn't there one open position? No.
We were full. So, Mark brings up a great point. Does everybody know what the law is on that? Conflict of interest law? Okay, if you believe that you have a conflict of interest, you have to state that. You do not have to remove yourself from the vote, but you have to state that you may have a conflict of interest. You make everybody aware that you may have a conflict of interest. That's the law. You do not have to, there's nothing in the law that says you have to remove yourself from the vote.
So you can still
Little-
vote,
little
but you have
training.
to,
Right, just a little training there, just a little bit.
Yeah, slip that.
Good thing to bring up.
yeah.
Can you remove yourself?
Yes, absolutely. And I have myself. I've left the room for a council vote. And again, you don't have to do that either. But I have, so I just may have a conflict and I get it right out, so. Matter of fact, I believe I had an agricultural permit come before this board and I left for that vote too. Because I didn't want to try and influence them. So.
Did you get the permit?
I believe I did. I think Diane pushed that through.
I've done a few things on this board.
Okay, so, this, I want you to think about this as we think about who's coming in. That we'll actually do this election next month. And we'll be electing a chairperson and a vice chair. Currently, Gary's the vice chair and I'm the chair. So, we'll do that next month for the following, for that year. So they go every year we elect a chairman, okay? Just so everybody's aware of that. Wanted to make sure that's why I put it on the agenda, so everybody's thinking about that. If you're thinking about being a chairperson, gives you a month to go out and visit all your other members to get a vote.
So does the chairperson, I'm just confused, how do we decide who's gonna be the chairperson? Is that
It's by vote,
by
We just choose one of
anybody
these.
off of the panel here
yes.
would be voted on? Okay.
And as a side note to that, you're doing good tonight, Mark. The chairperson only votes when there's a tie. It's a 7-member, so if 3 and 3, the chairperson, that's when they cast the vote. That's the only time they vote, is to break the tie. Which is, I'm pretty sure why they put me over here, so I can't vote. But it works out okay because my vote comes on the council. So it does work out okay. But the chairperson doesn't get a vote in the meeting unless it's a tiebreaker. Okay, that brings us to our next planner report. This is the planning report for November, so I want to give to council. Thank you. So you know what's going on. There's an addition to that. We have a, Bunker has pulled a, you guys need one?
Sure.
Share one, hey. Thank you.
There's 2, that's not on that report, is 2 agricultural buildings at the Bunker residence. Okay, while you're reviewing that, I want to just hit a couple of dates. Because we're getting towards the end of the year, and you may not be aware of this. Some of you may be. Declaration for candidacy, if you're looking at county offices, school board offices. The period for filing is March 9th, so it's coming up pretty quick. If you want to gather signatures, so everybody's heard about the gathering the signatures, you don't have to go through the caucuses. That filing period that says you're going to gather signatures is January 2nd. Right now. So you have to decide if that's the route you're going to go if you're running for one of these state offices or county offices. You have to make that declaration by January 2nd or you have to go through the caucus. Okay? just, a lot of people, this gets by them before this, because the dates come early. This year on the county council, so this would, if you're getting signatures and want to run for county council, we have at-large seat A, Heber North, seat C, County East, seat F. We also have the attorney, clerk, and sheriff that are all open
The
this year.
sheriff's up this year?
Okay. Now, if you want to run for one of those offices, to run for county council, it'll cost you $131.82 to file. If you want to run for the attorney, it's $588.43. Clerk and auditor is $408.95, and if you want to run for sheriff, it will cost you $536.94 to file to run. As a side note. Anybody find any questions on there that I need to answer? I was just talking while you guys were reading.
On half-cal zoning, what is that to?
They came before the council and asked for relief of a major part of the application fee, and they were denied at the application, the council denied that.
So the application stands or does not?
It's not a complete application because the fees have not been paid. Anything else on there? We good? Okay.
Is Baird, the Baird residence, that's the one on 3,000, right?
The Baird residence is the one on Little
Oh, Little
Sweet.
Sweet, I'm sorry.
Right. And it's, I mean, it went up pretty quick there. I didn't know if there's gonna be snow, but
Yeah, they did.
they got on that pretty quick.
Well, it hasn't snowed for 2 months.
I know, that's,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
close. The one that scares me, and it's on your report, is the Three Farms. That road is not done, and those houses are gonna be complete, and we're gonna be in winter time. And they won't get a certificate of occupancy without throwing a bond or making some other arrangement. A little
Well,
concerned.
after paying 80 grand for the water, they can probably afford more.
But they probably won't know that until it's time for their certificate of occupancy, and they wanna move in, and all of a
They
sudden,
can't.
BAM!
What do they need to do? Just road a mill it is all, isn't it?
I don't know if the base has been inspected, I don't know
Oh.
what they've done.
They've got a big pile of
Rotomill back there.
road a mill.
They do.
And
But the-
Ryan could tell us. Kimberly, can you tell us?
What has been done with the road?
Yeah, whether it's been inspected or not?
I know we inspected the water lines and everything. As far as I know, the road has not been complete yet with everything. I'll follow up with Ryan and double check.
Well, the road mill's not on, so it's definitely
Exactly.
not complete, but I don't know if the base has been, tested or, they keep
I
adding
haven't
base, so I
received-
assume that it's not done even to the base isn't finished yet, so. That's what I worry about is the frost getting in and then,
Well, it's there,
is it?
yeah.
It's already in the ground,
We
but.
had to excavate last week and we had 7 inches of frost.
Really?
Yeah.
When I was out at that Bugle excavation, there was good 5
Was
inches
this
out
with
there.
Really?
was this a crowbar and shovel?
It was. I'm still sore. My guys whine about it, so I go out and do the digging, and I'm getting too old.
Laughing with you.
Okay,
What about your fences out of compliance and frontage and visibility requirements? Is that something that planning commission's planning on addressing,
uh,
changing? Or I think there was some discussion on that once, of whether it should be changed or.
the height of fences?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think that they're gonna, I don't think the town will be able to regulate that because it's regulated on a higher level. And the reason they do that is so the law enforcement can see into those residences. That's why that, if it's not site obscuring, it doesn't matter. You can have a 6-foot fence.
Yeah.
But we have visibility triangles and frontage requirements, that's why that's
And that's what
regulated.
he's asking about, is
And
the
it's-
triangles.
I think there's a couple fences in complaint, right?
Yes, 3. So we have 3 of them that were, that, we have a bunch, I shouldn't say a bunch. We have a few items that are at the attorney's office that are getting reviewed to move forward with. One of them is the trailer park. We have some issues with the trailer park. Many of you probably know there was a meth bus there. The sheriff come in and kicked the door down.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there's,
Many of us don't know.
Weird.
And he
Yeah.
didn't have
Yeah,
a
you
license either.
and he did not have a license.
And it's
That's
a
who you
home
were talking
occupation.
about.
So,
He had a permit.
Business permit.
but we have a couple of stop work orders people have pushed through. And so it's getting to be quite a plate full of things that we're gonna have to move forward with, and I believe that we have that in place at the county to prosecute that. An agreement with the courts that we can prosecute here in the county. We do have to pay the attorney to come up and prosecute, our attorney will prosecute. So, it's not a moneymaker for the town, it's gonna cost us some serious money. But it's come to that point. That's why I try and get resolved when I go out, because it's just not a moneymaker for them or us. I mean, they have to hire an attorney, and and the fines are heavy, and it's $1,000 a day for every day out of compliance. That gets pretty steep on a person, so.
Those people don't have much money in there.
No, and it's not the people in there that we're going after, it's the owner.
Oh, the owner of the whole,
Trailer park owner.
Yeah,
one guy owns the whole thing, or gal?
he does.
Who is it?
So, I forget his name, Ryan knows
Not a local fellow, I
it. He
guess.
lives in Heber,
He lives in Heber.
yeah,
Is he the one that's owned it forever?
for quite a while,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, the one trailer, the police must have knocked down, they were moving a bunch of crap out of there.
Yeah, they brought all the carpet out, all the pad, and there's
Everything
new
they
people in there
yanked out.
already.
Huh?
There's new people in there already, and we had a concern about contamination, and the health department cleared that, so.
That's good.
Who's the owner and
That's
that's
expensive.
I'll just tell them. Who's the owner?
The owner is Brian Orville. He's the owner of Premier Building Supplies over in American Fork, but he lives up here in Heber.
So we've had contact with him, he's got the letters that we've sent, and it's just a lack of action. He, at one point, he wanted to build a convenience store there, and it never came in for an application, it was just, he talked about it, and so, but now there's no response, so.
How much land is there? Can't be more than a couple acres.
On that corner.
Might be an acre and a half,
Maybe?
Is there a house there?
There is a
There
house.
is a house.
Yeah, there
On the
There's a little
corner is a
farmhouse that's
little
built in-
house.
House and 10 trailers?
Yeah.
If trailers were to go away, it would still be a building lot. If everything.
Yeah, because there's a
was
house on
there.
it, yeah.
Yeah,
it'd be a lot of
In
record.
17 was the house was built and it's 1.4 acres.
1.4, so it'd be grandfathered in then.
When was the house built?
1917.
It's 100 years old.
Wow, that's cool. That's pretty good.
Surrounded by trash.
So, just so you're aware of that, we have several of those items coming. Okay, anything else on that?
Well, I think this brings it right back to what Tom said earlier. You guys go, they have this process they have to go do. Eric or Ryan will deal with them. But I think you guys would be shocked at how many people Eric goes and talks to, and they tell him, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do, shut me down when it's time. They really have no intention of paying things, or to do it. They think they can get away with it. And I'm quite surprised that, that's what Eric says. In a way, he hates doing it, he says, because his eyes are quite opening, and then he kind of loses a lot of respect for people that he's done this, that he didn't expect that. But I think he's found out a lot of, they know what the law is, because he's went out and talked to him, and they
don't care.
do it, and then they usually say, oh, that Eric Bunker, he's a
Yeah.
jerk, he's a liar, and it's like,
You'd rather
yeah,
laugh
and it's
at-
like, really? Yeah, okay.
One of them being that deck you're talking about, Kim,
Yeah,
that was all brought up before we ever started.
exactly.
And
So that,
the statement was, town will have to do what the town has to do.
yeah, well,
So you get to that point and suddenly the town's a dirty dog, so,
that vacant house on Daniel Road,
yes.
they were supposed to close, the new owner's supposed to close on that.
Yes,
which house is
So you
that?
know, I know that's gonna pay.
Which house is
it's
that?
gonna continue to be a pain.
Yeah. I don't know her.
It's gonna continue?
Tell me the address, because I've got to see if the water.
We have a person that
Oh,
contacted,
okay.
Really?
had a person that contacted us this week. He's under contract with that property and thinks he can go in the back of that property is zoned industrial and thinks he can run an industrial
Christine
operation, accessing
Jake.
it through a residential zone.
Christine Davis.
Davis, the last name is Davis.
So those of you,
You can look at the-
I don't think you guys will get a call. I did send out an email to staff that are aware of that.
Thank you.
If you're interested in that code, it's 82730. That limits the ability to access an industrial zone through a residential zone.
So it might not close.
It's under contract.
Okay.
I believe the due diligence was not done prior to that contract, so there's been phone calls, so, yeah. Very popular again.
Again?
Larry, how does the town council coordinate with the water department on these homes that are getting ready to be sold? And the reason why I ask is most of them have a water bill on them, and they want to make sure we become a record.
Well, the town doesn't really know. All we got was a phone call with the guy that said he's under contract with it. So that's the only contact the town's had.
So if we stick a for sale sign on, you should tack the bill on their table.
Can you file a pre-lien for the water company, like we do
Yeah.
for contract?
Good idea.
In other words, a pre-lien just protects your rights. And then when you find out somebody's, if it's gonna change the title, then you've already filed a notice.
The town council recommended to the water department that they have the contract looked at by an attorney that customers first sign when they come on the system. And the problem that we have is 150 of the older customers have not signed this contract. And some of those folks
So
don't want to sign the contract. And so I'm like Eric, I go out and I'm the bad guy because I
You're the
turn the
bad
water
guy.
off.
Because you go out and turn off the water, say sign the contract, and they shoot it.
Well, it's not the contract. He's turning it off for
No
payment.
payment.
Oh,
We're not turning off the
It
water
could
if somebody's
be,
not kind of signing
it
it.
could be, once we establish the criteria on the contract, that we do go around and ask people to sign it, and if they don't at that point, then we tell them you can't have any water. That could come to pass. And see, this is behind the same philosophy that if anybody on planning and zoning goes to training, the first thing they tell you in training is, let's remind you that you're working for the citizen and you're trying to work in their interest. Well, how's that working in their interest if you're turning people's water off?
You're protecting the system.
You're protecting the system and the customer down the
Oh,
road.
yeah, that's right.
So that everybody's paying their fair share.
Everybody's-
So you have to keep trying to reach out there for a philosophy lesson to justify what you're doing.
Yeah, that's not an easy job.
That's the second thing they tell you. The first thing they tell you is the Bill of Rights is written, so you guys can't do what you want to do to those folks. Sketchy ground, so. Anyway, that's down along those lines. There's a lot going on. Be aware. Just forward everything to, if you get some planning questions, all I can tell you is just forward them on to the engineering department and we'll answer them through staff, because I think a few of these will be in order. I'm sure all of you have got notice that you're on the docket for a phone call to our attorney.
Does everybody talk to the attorney?
I have,
I did.
you haven't?
I don't think I was on the, because he called me, I didn't know anything about it.
Well,
Oh, he did
Spam.
call
I
you?
haven't talked to him.
I don't know.
I don't know anything about it. We should have tried that.
Somebody
Um,
claims
I
that.
think I'm too
So
young
is he
for
still
this.
trying to contact us, Eric?
The attorney?
Yes.
Yes, if
He
they have
still
any,
needs to talk to us?
Just got the-
yeah, he wanted, all they want to do is clarify if you're named in the suit, what your contact was. So it's a short phone call, it's not very long. Most people didn't even talk to that applicant.
I was
so.
on the planning commission at the time.
Yeah, but you didn't talk to the applicant, and that's what he's claiming.
I didn't talk to him directly, no.
Yeah, and so they just want to clarify.
Well, and they ask you, have you ever allowed people to do what this guy says you didn't let him do? And
Right,
I
right.
say, no. So, It was an interesting conversation.
It is, yeah. I'd be happy to get with anybody individually if you have questions, we can look at that. We went into closed session with the council and talked about it at the council meeting. But he named everybody, and I believe the new amendment that's coming out